On this episode of Turning Point Tactics, I'm doing a review on a brand new Killteam tool that I think is going to be way better than your standard measuring stick. So I'm going to be talking about the Killteam dividers and the new tool that you might find really useful to have as one of the options in your Killteam kit. So let's get straight into it.
Hello and welcome to Turning Point Tactics, the competitive Killteam 40k YouTube channel focused on giving you the strategies and tactics to seize initiative every turning point. I'm your host Ryan, and I'm here to help give you the tips and tricks to elevate every part of your Killteam experience. So no matter if you're a casual or a competitive player, there should be something here for you. If you're interested in supporting the channel, there's a few ways you can go about doing so. You can join the Patreon, where you get access to members only Discord, Patreon priority questions, early access to content, exclusive content, and tournament awards. Or if you find yourself buying Killteam goodies or hobby supplies, you can use one of our affiliate links in the description below, or discount codes with Crossfire Games and GG Prints. We're always keen to hear your thoughts and feedback, so don't leave that comment box empty. Let us know what you think. Once again, thanks for your support, and with all that said, let's get into it.
Okay, so as most people know, I'm a massive fan of having the right tool for the right job for Killteam. And I'm not saying that this is going to be something you use all the time, but it does have some really good uses a lot of the time. So as people will know, when you're trying to measure like horizontal or non-horizontal distances, these sort of measuring sticks can become really difficult, right? Because you're trying to measure, but you're not too sure where it goes through, or maybe you need to measure underneath the vantage here to measure 4 inches or something, and you can't quite place it to the edge, and then there's a thickness issue and you're not too sure where it begins. You start knocking terrain, you knock models and all that sort of stuff, because measuring sticks are okay, but they're not perfect, particularly if you're trying to like move through bits of terrain or something like that, and you can't quite get the exact measurement where you need it to be. So if you're trying to move through a doorway or something like this. So this is how most of us end up measuring the game, and it adds a level of imprecision to what we do. And there's another tool which I'm a big advocate for, which are these Killteam dividers. So with these, like it gives you another option to potentially get around how you can interact with the terrain and avoid knocking and moving models. Now, I've seen recently, like we keep having it where essentially players get accused of being imprecise or, mismeasuring and whatever else. And for me, I like to have tools that give me the opportunity to reduce the risk of that to the maximum extent, right? So I'm going to show you these Killteam dividers. I'm going to show you how they work, and then give you a bit of a review of it and why I think adding some to your Killteam kit will be useful for you. So if you're interested in buying these, there'll be a link in the description below, and you can get them off Etsy as a tool to use for your Killteam kit. So Killteam dividers then. What are they? Well, if anyone's familiar with dividers, it's an accurate way of measuring distances that you wouldn't necessarily normally do. So rather than having to worry about, as I said, something moving in the way, you can potentially position these so that you get the accurate distance between here and here that you need. So if I go onto this and I dial in 6, and then I do up the dial, it locks it into place because it's got a really clever little system here. So I'll show you here, but you have essentially these teeth and grill systems. So that does that. You tighten it up, and then you'll see that the distance between either end is 6 inches exactly, right? Which is really cool. So that's just proving to you that the accuracy does work. So that's your 6-inch measurement. And for instance, that's useful if you want to move someone or do something. So you could potentially, say, oh, this guy wants to move over here 6 inches. But what we often get is we get stuff where terrain is in the way, right? So maybe you've got someone behind a door, and you want to see how far that they can move through the door. So I can measure here 6 inches, or accessible is actually going to be 5. So I'll dial this out. I'll select the correct measurement that I want, which is going to be, nice and loose, 5. Dial that in. And then just like that, I've now got a 5-inch measuring divider. I'll lock it up. So that's now 5 inches between them. And I can place that at the back of my model's base. I can then place it to the other side. And if I had a proxy, I'll use this as a proxy. I can then place that to here. And I know the distance between those two locations there is exactly 5 inches. So now, paying for accessible without trying to figure out where my stick goes, or trying to have a parallax error by viewing from above, I've got a more accurate and more precise measurement if needed. Now, I'm not saying it's something you need all the time, right? But there's often times in games where people have done it or know about it, where that extra, little bit of distance makes a huge thing for a competitive game. And this is just a tool that I think is useful to avoid those arguments. So if you're moving over, say, terrain like this, and you want to figure out where you can go, you can place at the front of your base, you can then place that down at the other front of your base, and you can then measure and go, yep, cool, this model can now end up here. And so long as I'm measuring to the front of the base, I know that I've done fine, whatever. So that's a way of using these. I'm trying to do it for the camera, it's not necessarily the easiest. But what it also helps with is 3D measurements. So one of the things that we often struggle with, is, as I said, is 3D measurements. So is this guy with his 8-inch range bolt pistol in range of this guy down here? Now, it's close, and I'm like, oh, I think maybe he is, but I'm not too sure because this is getting in the way, the floor is getting in the way, and therefore it's not exactly 100% accurate. But with a divider, I can dial it out, select the distance that I want. So I'm going to go, so that would be 6, that's 7, that's 8. All the standard measurements are all in there. I can then lock it in. So it's the correct measurement distance. And now we're at the 8 inches. And then by essentially placing this on the model here, and then moving this to the other model, I can then, well, I've just obviously moved both because I'm an idiot trying to do it for the camera. Make sure it's in focus. But you can see here, yes, they are exactly within 8 inches. So this is a really useful TO tool, and I think it's something that you should add to your available options of being able to do measurements that you need. And the fact that actually it screws away really nicely, goes into a quite small profile. You can chuck this in most of your Killteam kits, and then you're good to go, right? So that's now locked up for 2 inches, whatever, 1 inch. And you can see here on the dial, you can essentially choose up to 12 inches if you wanted to. So you can go all the way out to here for a really long range measurement, or you can reduce it. So a really easy and useful way of being able to do 3D distance measuring using these Killteam dividers. So I thought it'd be a useful product for people to be able to see. As I said, you can get them on Etsy, and they're available now. So you can use the link in the description to be able to check them out. And that's essentially all I wanted to do. Now, as I said, I'm a big advocate for precision, so I don't think personally this replaces steppers or anything like that. I highly recommend that you have a few tools. This takes a little bit longer to use, so I would use it specifically for those 3D measurements or measurements through terrain where you know it's going to be an issue. And then I would still keep my standard other measuring sticks that I use for more horizontal measurements quickly. But if it's ever going to be a point of contention, then that's where I'm going to switch over to potentially using a Killteam divider. So I think for TOs, this might be something you want to keep in your back pocket, just to be like, yep, I'll keep one of these. And then if you get one of these scenarios where it becomes close and you're like, oh, I'm not 100% sure, well, you can then measure them out using the Killteam dividers, and you know exactly what the answer is going to be. I mean, realistically, you could move this model out of the way if you wanted to, because you can go, yep, I'll dial the correct number in on here, and I'll go, yep, what I need is 8 inches, and all I need to do is tie it back up, measure from the edge of this guy's base, and go, can this base touch that location? Yes, nice and easy. And then the TO can put the model back. Clearly, if you're playing the game, I suggest that you don't do that. You just try and measure from base to base using the push down on the model and the push down on the model there, and then you can measure that distance accurately. Difficult to focus on, sorry, but that's the idea. So hopefully people will find this useful. As I said, I don't think it replaces all of your Killteam tools. I think it's just a useful tool to have to make your games a little bit more precise, a little bit more accurate, and help you with your measurements. So if you're interested and you want to check one of those out, you can get one on Etsy, and they are on sale today.
That brings us to the end of the episode. Hopefully you found something new or useful while listening, and if you did, throwing us a like would be greatly appreciated. If you want to make sure you don't miss any episodes, make sure you hit that subscribe button and click on the bell so you get notifications as soon as the next one drops. It really is the best way to help a small channel like ours. And if you can't wait and you do want early access, we have a Patreon where you can get exclusive access to all our content ahead of time. As always, we'd love to hear your thoughts and feedback. Just drop a comment below and we'll get right to you. Thank you so much for listening. I'm your host Ryan, this has been Turning Point Tactics, and we'll see you next week.